A 29-year-old American tourist traveled to Sicily to see one of the most dramatic natural spectacles on Earth, an actively erupting volcano. He climbed toward the summit of Mount Etna on Sunday evening, into an area officially closed to hikers. A thunderstorm rolled in. He was struck by lightning, rescued by helicopter, and later pronounced dead at a hospital in Catania. Here's the detail almost nobody expects. According to CNN, more people have died on Mount Etna from lightning strikes over recent decades than from the volcano's actual eruptions. The last eruption-related death on this mountain was in 1987. Today we're breaking down what happened to this tourist, why Etna's summit is such a dangerous place for a thunderstorm to catch you, and why the volcano's own eruption isn't actually the biggest threat drawing people toward it. No guessing, no dramatizing, just the facts, the science, and the real stakes. According to NBC News and CNN, both citing Italian firefighters, a 29-year-old man from Kansas was struck by lightning on the evening of Sunday, August 16, 2026, while hiking on Mount Etna in Sicily. He was found in an exposed, barren area at approximately 1,400 meters, nearly 4,600 feet, in a section of the mountain known as Rocca Capra. According to CBS News, citing initial reports from the Italian news agency ANSA, he had entered an area designated off-limits to hikers, apparently attempting to get closer to the volcano's summit to witness its ongoing eruption up close. Firefighters and emergency responders reached him by helicopter at around 8 p.m. local time and found him in cardiac arrest. He was flown to Cannizzaro Hospital in Catania, where doctors were unable to revive him. According to Catania Today, cited by CBS News, he was declared dead at 9:30 p.m. Authorities have not released his name. According to CBS News, this was one of 2 fatal lightning strikes reported across Italy that same Sunday. Why people were on Etna's slopes during an active eruption at all. To understand why a tourist would be hiking toward an erupting volcano summit in the first place, you need to understand what's been drawing visitors to Etna over the preceding weeks. We covered Etna's ongoing eruption in detail on this channel earlier this month when its ash cloud repeatedly forced the closure of Catania's airport, at one point producing what officials called the worst disruption to that airport in more than 2 decades. According to CBS News, that same eruptive activity, glowing lava streams visible at night, has drawn what the outlet describes as an exceptional influx of hikers, tourists, and curious onlookers eager to witness the volcanic phenomenon directly. Etna is visited by roughly 1.5 million people every year, according to CBS News, and an active eruption, rather than deterring visitors, appears to have significantly increased the mountain's draw during exactly the period when conditions on its slopes were becoming more hazardous, not less. Italian authorities have restricted access to broader sections of Etna's upper slopes specifically because of this prolonged eruptive activity, particularly areas above the tree line where hikers have little to no shelter. According to CNN and Euronews, it remains unclear whether the man who died was specifically within one of these restricted zones, or simply in a similarly exposed area nearby, but CBS News' sourcing indicates he had likely entered ground closed to the public in an effort to get a closer view of the eruption. This is the part of the story that connects directly to real, well-documented mountain weather science, separate entirely from the volcanic activity itself. According to Italy's Civil Protection Agency, cited by CBS News, visitors ascending Etna encounter high mountain conditions remarkably quickly, transitioning from sea level to alpine terrain within just a few kilometers. The agency specifically warns that this rapid elevation change causes sudden, unpredictable weather shifts, as humid air currents moving in from the sea collide with masses of cold air at altitude, a combination capable of generating fast-forming thunderstorms with little warning for anyone already on the exposed upper slopes. Being caught in one of these storms in an area like Rocca Capra, above the tree line, with little to no shelter and standing at significant elevation, creates close to worst case conditions for lightning risk. Elevated exposed terrain is inherently more vulnerable to lightning strikes than low-lying sheltered ground, since lightning tends to strike the highest available point in open terrain, and a hiker standing on a barren volcanic slope during a thunderstorm can become exactly that point. Here's the detail that makes this story worth examining beyond a single tragic incident. According to CNN, officials say more people have died on Mount Etna from lightning strikes over recent decades than from the volcano's actual volcanic activity, with the last eruption-related fatality on the mountain dating back to 1987. That statistic runs directly counter to how most people intuitively think about volcano safety. The dramatic, visible hazard, glowing lava, explosive eruptions, ash plumes, understandably captures the imagination and draws visitors specifically hoping to witness it. But the far more statistically dangerous threat on this specific mountain has, for decades, been the ordinary, comparatively unglamorous risk of a sudden alpine thunderstorm catching hikers in exposed terrain. This isn't unique to volcanoes either. It reflects a broader pattern we've discussed in different forms on this channel. Raw, destructive potential, and actual statistical risk to individual people don't always align the way instinct suggests. A slow, gradually building hazard, extreme heat during Japan's Kumamoto earthquake recovery, or in this case, an entirely separate weather hazard, occurring on the slopes of an active volcano frequently proves more dangerous in practice than the singular, dramatic event that draws public attention in the first place. Following this death, Italian authorities and international outlets have renewed warnings specifically directed at tourists drawn to Etna by its current eruptive activity. According to Africa News and Euronews, officials have reiterated that the combination of ongoing volcanic activity and rapidly changing mountain weather makes visiting Etna's upper slopes potentially hazardous well beyond the eruption itself, and that closures to restricted areas exist specifically because conditions in those zones can shift from manageable to genuinely dangerous with very little notice. Notably, according to Euronews, Etna erupted again on Monday, August 17th, the day immediately following the tourist's death, sending fresh plumes of smoke and ash into the sky over Sicily, a stark, immediate reminder that the volcano's activity driving the surge in visitor interest remains very much ongoing, even as authorities work to reinforce safety messaging in its aftermath. Italian Alpine Rescue Services and Etna Park authorities are expected to continue monitoring both the volcano's eruptive activity and weather conditions across its slopes closely, given the mountain's documented history of sudden storm formation. Given the significant tourist interest this eruption has generated, officials face an ongoing challenge in balancing public access to one of Europe's most compelling natural spectacles against the genuine, well-documented risks its terrain and weather. Present risks that, as this incident and Etna's own historical statistics demonstrate, don't always come from the volcano itself. A tourist traveling specifically to witness an erupting volcano up close, only to be killed not by that eruption, but by a lightning strike during a sudden mountain thunderstorm, is a genuinely difficult story to sit with, precisely because it inverts the danger most people would expect. Etna's lava, its ash, its explosive activity, is the visible, headline-grabbing hazard that draws roughly 1.5 million visitors to this mountain every year. But according to officials, it hasn't been the mountain's deadliest threat in decades. That distinction belongs to something far more ordinary, and in many ways far harder to guard against. A fast-moving alpine storm on exposed, high-elevation terrain with nowhere to take shelter. Etna erupted again the very next day, a reminder that the volcano's activity isn't stopping anytime soon, and neither, unfortunately, is the risk that comes with everything else happening on its slopes while it does. We'll keep tracking this story and every other major seismic, volcanic, and extreme weather event happening around the world right now. Subscribe if you want to see the next update. Drop a comment and tell me, did you know more people had died from lightning on Etna than from the volcano itself? See you in the next one.